All right, boys, we're here. It's finally season 3. We're gonna do a little live draft breakdown for the NCPBL. We got 2 new coaches this season. Welcome Graham and Cordell to the league. Yeah, I think we had a really solid draft. I'm really excited about a lot of people's teams. I think I got a pretty good one myself that I'm pumped to use, try out, see what I can do with. But yeah, I'm just going to kind of go through this pick by pick. This is going to be a pretty long video, so if you got, a car ride, you got some work to do, you got whatever, just kind of leave this on in the background, maybe tune in when it's your pick, see what I have to say about it. Other than that, I'm just kind of freeballing this and seeing where we go. So yeah, let's hop right into it, right? So first up, we have MJC. He's leading us off. We got a little shout out Tyler for developing these slides for me. These are amazing. We see over here, got his logo. Season 1, Blaziken was his kill leader with 9 kills. Season 2, Dracovish with 11 kills. And we'll what we're doing here, I'm breaking down the first 4 rounds pick by pick. And then I'll go through I think it is the first 4 rounds. And then the other rounds, I'll go through every pick as well, kind of showing you what was taken each round and really what highlights. But without further ado, MJC's first pick is in, and it is Zapdos. He's running it back. It put in a ton of work for him last season when he dropped Chansey and picked this thing up. It must have the ability No Guard because it just constantly hits its hurricanes, along with some timely static paralyzes as well. This is a super strong pick. Pretty sure this has gone first overall, or at least in the top 5 in plenty of other draft leagues. I don't think he's going to be very disappointed with this. I think this is a very safe pick, and yeah, it can do so much, and it's so fat for no reason. It has 125 base special attack, and then it just hits. It can eat any other hit. Like it doesn't make any sense. So solid pick. I was lucky enough to get 2nd overall. Oh yeah, and whenever there's a season champion, they got a little crown up there. So shout out WPT season 1 champs. Yeah, so my first pick, I had a lot of thoughts on this one, and I felt like this one would set me up for the most amount of kind of versatility and like playthrough through the draft to be able to round out my team. Drafting, pretty high overall, you gotta wait a lot of picks for that next one to come back to you, and I felt like Tornadus could just fit on any team. Regenerator is busted. Tornadus is another one that's just super fat. It just lives every hit for no reason, and then you can just pivot out into a wall breaker, and then you know what, now it's back up at 33% higher health because of that awesome ability. So I think this was just a super versatile pick, and I can kind of go anywhere with this. Also, it has like moves like Nasty Plot. It can be like a bulk up physical sweeper. I can do like agility Nasty Plot, double dance. Yeah, U-turn, knockoff, weather ball. Like it just has so many options. So I'm really excited to kind of put this onto my team and see what it can do each week. Tommy with pick number 3. He's your season 2 champion. And if there's any indication in that bottom right corner of what his first pick is going to be, it's not too surprising. It's going to be the season 2 MVP. He's running it back with Tommy. Voted to the All-Star game in season 2. Yeah, a super solid pick. Really annoying to prep for, especially since like you can just throw a Yachi Berry on this and live any hit. Get up a substitute, do a little sub-toxic, sub-DD, banded E-speeds, banded 1,000 arrows. Like there's not many switch-ins to this Pokemon, and the ones that are have to be worried about maybe a sub-toxic. So I think Zygarde just fits any team, and it's another safe pick that he's got to wait a lot for it to come back through. He'll be able to patch up maybe an ice weakness later, or really round out the team from there. But I like this pick a lot. It's just a nightmare to prep for, and that's exactly why Tommy took it. He didn't want to mess around in prep anymore with that. Going on to Joe, aka Tyler, aka Joe wasn't able to draft for himself, so Tyler drafted for him. Ty and I were kind of in cohorts with this a little bit, texting back and forth on some of these picks. Joe gave Ty a bunch of stuff that he was like super interested in, and yeah, just kind of was instructed to draft from there. So we're gonna see this pick is none other than Tapu Koko. Season 1 MVP, all-star in both seasons, kill leader in Season 1. It's still the all-time kill leader after 2 seasons. This Pokemon has played in every single game that has been in the league. There's been 20 games, if you include playoffs, I believe, right? It was 7 weeks and then 3 rounds of playoffs. It has made the championship game both seasons. It is a champion of Season 2 with Tommy. Yeah, so Joe basically with this pick has locked up a place in the championship. That way Koko can come to every match. Yeah, super versatile, great pivot, and go physical and go special. I think that's one of the nice things with Koko is that you always see it special on the ladder, but in Draft League, running physical is super viable because you know exactly what it's coming up against, especially if they don't have like a really solid like ground type pivot for it. So yeah, really solid stuff here. It's just a fantastic pick. It was something I was really considering at a second overall. All right, we got Heatran out of one of our new coaches, Cordell here. We can see that Wobbuffet is his favorite Pokemon, not necessarily a round 1 pick, but we'll see if he picks that up later. I think Heatran is fantastic. This is the first time it's being drafted into this league, which is really surprising. It's one of the bulkiest steals, one of the best fairy checks. You know, you throw a Shuckaberry on there, the ground weakness really isn't that big of an issue because its stats are so good. You know, you can Scarf this, run Eruption on it. Choice spec sets hit like a nuke. You can run some Magma Storm trapping sets. Really good rocker. You know, surprising speed tier for how fat it is, and you can get off some taunts on some really bulky stuff that might switch into it. Be just super annoying through that. I think this is a really cool mon. I'm glad we're finally seeing it. Oh, and now my favorite set is Grassium Z Bloom Doom, but you can kind of do a little, you know, Walmart version of that with Power Herb and Solar Beam. I think that's a really fun set too. Yeah, I'm excited to see what he can pull off with us. Going to Dodge. So I was going to break down every coach's thought process at the end of the draft, but I think I'm going to lead with Dodge's real quick. So he takes Gengar first overall, Season 2 kill leader, absolute demon. Even though it has a 110 base speed, which is fast, that's not like elite, right? But it was always able to revenge kill on E's team last season, so I think it's yeah, pretty valuable with that. We'll see how Dodge ends up rounding out his team from here, but this is just such a strong mon. He can wall break with it, he can clean with it. That's what E did last year to get all those kills. Yeah, super solid. But what I was saying about Dodge is he's going with some familiar favorites. I'll keep it at that. So we'll kind of see the theme around Dodge, but he wanted to make sure it was stuff that he was comfortable with through the draft, and he ended up drafting a pretty solid team. All right, our second new coach, we got the Flint Tropius, coached by Graham. Favorite Pokemon is Tropius, of course. Fantastic. And going with Gliscor, round 1 pick. I think this is something that we kind of undervalued last season. It is really annoying to deal with. If you don't have strong enough ice coverage, this thing can just toxic heal itself all the way back up. You know, really annoying subsets. It has really good speed for how bulky it is. I think it's base 95 speed. You know, setup sweeper, you know, you throw in a little sword stance with Facade, and now this thing's hitting like a nuke, plus you don't really have a move to one-hit KO it back. I would say Gliscor's weakness, though, is that it doesn't run a Yachi Berry to patch up that ice weakness, so if there is a bad ice matchup, you're probably going to be in some trouble. Otherwise, this thing is so good against everything else. All right, E coming in with the Landorus Therian. This is actually the first time this has been drafted into our league. It's been eligible both seasons, and this is the first time we're seeing it. E had a strategy here where he wanted to make sure he got really good pivots for his Mega, and I I mean, it's tough to argue that Landers isn't a good pivot, right? This thing can do everything. You have to respect its offensive power. Rock Polish and Swords Dance sets are really strong. Throwing on like a Life Orb with like a Gravity set to hit some flying types with Earthquake is really cool. Obviously, you have, you know, your Rocky Helmet, defensive pivot, good Defogger, great rocker. You know, you can run Assault Vest on it. That's a very common set, at least in VGC. Yeah, it can probably have a niche situation where that works this season for him. But yeah, no, just super great pick here. And then, like I said, with Heatran having like a Power Herb Solar Beam, you can run a little Power Herb Fly on Landorus and, you know, get that one-turn flying type attack off. So that'd be pretty cool to see. I love this pick. I'm glad it finally got taken off the board. All right, Berg coming in, and he's going with something that he is super familiar with as well. This is Scizor, Season 2 All-Star, his kill leader from last season. Yeah, it's just so great, especially the base form being able to run Knockaberry. Super bulky, especially on the physical side. Great cleaner with Bullet Punch. Choice Banded Bullet Punch is just, don't even get me started. That is something nice. Yeah, that's just a really good pick from Berg. Yeah, and just take a note of who his Season 1 kill leader was as well, moving forward. All right, Ty, rounded out. This is the last pick of round 1. We can see he put up 16 kills with Coco in Season 1 and then 11 between Lopunny and Kyurem last season. So yeah, he's drafted some demons before, and his first pick of this draft is going to be Mew. Yep, we let it fall all the way down to pick number 10 for him, and now we just have to deal with Ty and his creativeness with Mew. I mean, it's a great pick. It's annoying that Ty is going to be able to pilot it, just from a prep standpoint, but you know what? I think we're going to see some really cool stuff out of it this season, and that's pretty exciting. And yeah, it played last season. I think we banned it Season 1 because we weren't ready for that. You know, we just didn't really have that sort of experience in Draft League where we should have been playing against it, which I think is totally fair. But yeah, now that it's out, we can kind of see what Ty is cooking up. So here's our picks. This is a great time for me to figure out a better placement for my camera. Maybe just a little bit over the right. Okay. Yeah, I don't think any of these picks are super shocking. All of these are really solid, you know, round 1 Draft League picks. I'm glad to see that we finally have Landers and Heatran making an appearance in the league. Yeah, I think everybody started off really strong. Didn't kind of, you know, overstep or anything. With how we balanced the tiers, I think it made the most sense that everybody took a tier 1 in round 1. I don't think there was anything that was super OP or ridiculous that needed to get grabbed early out of like tier 2 or tier 3 or anything like that. So yeah, well done everybody. And we're gonna move on to round 2. Okay, there we are. Yep, and so we're snake drafting. Ty just went with his pick number 10, so now at pick 11 we are gonna see him take Mega Scizor. This is awesome. Yeah, this wasn't drafted last season. It was a tier 1 and our tiers were a little funky, so we didn't take a whole lot of top tier megas. Believe it or not, Mega Scizor is actually bulkier than Skarmory on the physical side, which is really hard to believe, but yeah, this thing is an absolute weapon. Yeah, like a lot of good things to say about this. I think it's super versatile. You don't necessarily want to run it as a defogger, but it has the ability for sure. I think it's really good as just like a bulky pivot, maybe with a little Sword Stance and Bullet Punch, because it has just a sky high, I think it's base 150 attack stat. Don't quote me if I'm wrong, but yeah, yeah, great pick out of Ty. I'm really happy to see this getting picked up. All right, Berg coming in with a Mega Pidgeot in round 2. This is the first one that popped off the screen to me. I think it's pretty cool though. Berg has this very specific plan that he's kind of drafting around, and this fits perfectly with it. We'll kind of see that formulate through the draft. But Mega Pidgeot, I mean, It's solid cleaning, it's solid wall breaking. Yeah, you can run like a workup set, always hit your hurricanes. That's the big thing with it. It doesn't have the highest stats in the world, but if you're always hitting your hurricanes that have a 30% chance to confuse, you know, you're going to be able to break through some stuff just through a little bit of hacks. You know, you got Scissor and Pidgeot now for like U-turn cores and like just getting each other into good positions. Yeah, no, really solid Mega. Plus you kind of get, you see there on the left, you actually get plus 20 points. So he'll have more points for his free slots. We're drafting 1 out of every tier along with 4 frees and a Mega. So he'll have a little extra to play with later on in the draft. All right, E following up his Landorus T pick with Mega Gallade. And some will argue this is the best Mega in the Draft League format. Insane coverage moves. You can even do some really goofy stuff with like Wish and Teleport if you want to be like especially defensive sort of Gallade. I think it's, you know, top tier with like SD, maybe even like a Shadow Sneak for priority. Sub Bulk Up is pretty cool. That way you can like Drain Punch some health back. Yeah, it just does everything. Really great speed tier at 110 as well. Crazy attack stat at 165. Like, Gallade is just a beast. Really scary core with Landorus as well, because Landorus is just such a good pivot that it can get Gallade into these positions to wall break or even sweep a team if they're not that fast. So, yeah, I'm glad this is finally picked. This is also the first time we're seeing it drafted in our league. And yeah, it's super scary. Really tough combo for me right now. All right, following up the Gliscor pick, the Flint Tropius are taking Mega Heracross. And I think you guys are sensing the theme so far with our 4th straight Mega drafted this round. Yeah, plenty more to come. Mega Heracross with Gliscor, actually pretty cool combo. Gliscor once again can be a good U-turn support. Yeah, there's an argument that Gliscor is better than Landorus T, and there's also an argument that Landorus T is better than Gliscor. So like, both kind of do the same thing. Gliscor just has better recovery, which definitely helps out. And I think that will help with a slower Mega as well, being able to pivot more for Heracross. I think Gallade can kind of support itself more on E's end with Landorus T, while I think Heracross really needs to get put into those positions because of that 4x weakness to flying, and Gliscor should be able to, you know, facilitate that a little bit better. But yeah, crazy mon, 180 plus attack stat, skill link, Rock Blast, Pin Missile, Bullet Seeds. Like, you can't switch Bulky Waters into it, which you normally would, because you're just gonna get Bullet Seeded and get O-Code. Like, this thing is a beast. Really scary with like Sword Stance as well. If you lose your stuff that has speed to revenge kill it, man, it's pretty much over. Yeah, really cool mon. Love playing through Auras using my Mega Heracross. All right, Orlando Magikarp taking Mega Gyarados. Really cool combo here between Gengar and Gyarados. I think those two complement each other extremely well. We are not requiring turn 1 Megas this season, so Gyarados can really take advantage of multiple Intimidates through pivoting, or it can actually like do like a Dragon Dance and get a Moxie boost after a kill and then Mega Evolve, and now, you know, he's boosted up. I think this is a sick pick, really cool pairing with Gengar. They really complement each other with their typings, specifically the Dark and the Ghost. Yeah, I mean, even like Gyarados' water type attacks help Gengar out against grounds. That way you can be throwing off some sludge waves. Gyarados has a really cool ability in Mold Breaker as well. It can, you know, Earthquake Rotom forms that have Levitate. It can bust through like a Mimikyu Disguise or something. Yeah, really sick. I like this pick a lot. All right, following up Heatran, we have Mega Diancie, and I'm not gonna lie, I was a little upset about this. I was really hoping Mega Diancie would be there by the time it got back to me, but everybody decided, you know what, round 2 is the round for Megas, and yeah, I get sniped. Really fantastic pairing here between Diancie and Heatran. A little bit of a ground weakness, but that's fine. You can patch ground weaknesses, I think, pretty easily through the draft, but the pairing of Heatran and Diancie allows a lot of steel type switch-ins from Heatran. Deancey can wall break for possibly like a Scarf Heatran or something like that. Both are really good rockers as well, along with Magic Bounce being really useful here, since like Heatran doesn't have reliable recovery. You can kind of keep hazards off, and that really helps Heatran kind of get stuff back with leftovers. Yeah, 160 on both attack and special attack, 110 on defense, special defense, and speed, if I remember correctly, and then about 50 on the HP. So it's like surprisingly bulky still for you know, how fast and strong it is. And then you know, you can run like a rock polish set and sweep with it. You can run a calm mind set and sweep with that. Really just bust through, and it's hard to prep against because it has 100 base power Diamond Storms off the physical side. It has Explosion, but then it could also just nuke you with a Moonblast or something. Really versatile. I think really complements a draft league format well, and I'm glad it finally got picked. All right, Joe going with Ditto. He had, in his like breakdown of what he wanted drafted, it was, I want like a Coco or like a Mega Scissor first, and then round 2 take Ditto. Doesn't matter, take Ditto. So that's what Ty did. And yeah, I mean, we saw what this could do last season. It really deters setup sweeping. It basically guarantees that nobody's going to bring like a Dragon Dancer against him. I know last season I was helping Berg prep against the Ditto, and you know, there's ways that you can kind of mess around if you have some immunities. You know, you have like a dragon type that's dragon dancing, and then you can like let it kill you with either a dragon type move, or it's forced to predict that your fairy is switching in. You know, you kind of have some mind games from that. So like there are workarounds to Ditto, but I think it's a really good value pick at tier 3, and especially the way Joe uses it, I think it's definitely worth, you know, taking early. So yeah, solid pick. It's gonna be annoying to prep against once again. All right, following up the Zygarde pick with Mega Sceptile, we see let's see, this is our 7th pick of round 2, and I think our 6th Mega. It's just insane. Everybody's just hopping on their Megas, but yeah, Mega Sceptile plus 40 points, good value pick. I don't necessarily agree with like the double dragon, double electric immunity, and then double 4 times weakness to ice. I think that's like a little too aggressive. Personally, I probably would have went with something that paired better with Zygarde with my 2nd pick. But yeah, I think I love Sceptile by itself though. Like, I think in draft league where you can go physical or special depending on your matchup, Sceptile excels in that because of its incredible move pool. I was playing with it last season, just the base version of it, and it was able to do so much stuff for me. I think overall, it's just a good Pokemon. I just don't know if I would have paired it with Zygarde. All right, so got back to me, and I am gonna go with my Regen Core here. I really like this combo. A lot of my prep teams that I was kind of like mocking for the draft, the core was Tornadus and Slowbro. I think they complement each other super well. Double regen is really nice. I had Slowking last season, and it just felt like that thing would never die, and I feel like Slowbro is just a better version of Slowking. So you know, even if I really wanted to, I can throw an Assault Vest on this and make it specially bulky. Yeah, I got regen. I don't need to actually use Slack Off. I think its best set, though, does involve Teleport. That way I get slow momentum into a Wall Breaker, into another pivot, you know, etc., etc. But yeah, I'm really excited about Slowbro. All right, following up the Zapdos pick, we got Azelf running it back. MJC's taking a bunch of familiar favorites. Really going with that. He's got good momentum here, great lead with like Stealth Rocks and Taunt, amazing attack and special attack where you can, you know, be like a Suicide Explosion after Stealth Rocks, just Banded Boom, you can be a Choice Spexmon. That one, Azelf is really annoying to prep for. When he had that in Season 1, it gave me a very hard time in prep. I ended up basically just taking a 50-50 on what sort of set it was, and ended up getting that correct during a match. And I was like, all right, well, if that's the best odds I can get against this, I'll take it. But yeah, this is going to be something that's going to be really annoying to prep for. It just does everything. It's super frail, so if you are able to call what it's going to be, you kind of have an easy time playing around that. But if you guess wrong and it's physical when you thought it was special, boom, you're dead. Like, really dangerous mon to play against. So that's the end of round 2 there. I mean, I don't think anything necessarily pops off the board like crazy. I think Mega Pidgeot and Ditto were taken maybe a little early. Those would probably be available in the next round. I know MJC was really interested in Mega Pidgeot, and, you know, Berg, I mean, I don't know if that one maybe would have been available by the time it got all the way back to him. But yeah, the Zapdos pick maybe would have deterred MJC from taking Mega Pidgeot anyway. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I think, well, this was the round of Megas in general. I think the combo of Landorus T and Gallade, though, from E is just so deadly. It's so good. That's going to be mad annoying to play against. But yeah, that's pretty much my takeaway. Gengar and Mega Gyarados is really cool as well. Really good pairs out of everybody here. All right, going on to round 3, we got the Chicago Cubone picking up Ferrothorn. So we got our first free slot taken. As you can see, they're down to 280 points in their free point total, as we all started with 400. Yeah, just hopping onto a really good hazard setter early, it makes it so Azelf doesn't necessarily need to run rocks. But both Azelf and Ferrothorn complement each other with like taunting, knocking off. Yeah, MJC's just kind of building a very balanced core right now to kind of fit a lot of other stuff into. I like Ferrothorn a lot. I thought I was going to end up getting it, but it was actually taken pretty early, so I was like, all right, well, it's on to its little brother. We'll see what that looks like later. All right, so for my pick, gonna go with Mega Lopunny. I was really torn on this one. I think the best partner for Tornadus as a Mega would have been Mega Garchomp, and regular Garchomp was still available on the board, and I was highly considering taking that. But I think what the end of the day for me was I didn't want Tornadus T at 121 to be my top speed tier, and if I started going with like a Mega Garchomp or something along those lines, or even just a base Garchomp, I probably wouldn't have been able to draft anything that has a better speed tier than that, and I kind of wanted to lock in something that was faster than like a Coco, has a little bit of priority. Now this was a Season 2 All-Star from Tyler, 11 kills last season. I think it's super versatile. It's really annoying to prep against because for some reason it just hits so hard, along with that speed stat, forcing a lot of Scarfers. And now I have like a defensive backbone of Tornadus T and Slowbro to kind of be able to eat those scarfing hits as well. I think that complements each other really well. Plus, I have 2 of the best pivots in the game to be able to get Lopunny in there to clean up. It just fit the team really well, and I don't regret taking this by any means. All right, so we got Tommy here taking Mamoswine. So still hasn't patched up his ice weakness, but he did take one of the strongest wall breakers in all of tier 2. You know, I love me some Adamant Life Orb Mamo. Yeah, this thing is a beast. Super strong ice shards. You can throw an AV on it, live a lot of hits with Thick Fat. Really cool rocker with Oblivious because you can't get taunted. You also can't get intimidated with Oblivious, so that's really cool. Just, yeah, overall, really strong mon. And you know what? If you're going to have an ice weakness, might as well take one of the best ice types in the game. That way nobody else can have it. So I like that strategy for sure. All right, going on to Joe. And we see Buzzwole. I think this is a really cool combo with Tapu Koko. Yeah, Buzzwole is really underrated. We haven't used it yet in our league, and I think we're gonna find out how annoying it is as a physical wall for stuff. And yeah, it can like sub roost you to death. It can bulk up. It can beast boost all over you. yeah, just overall really strong pick, especially with Coco. I think it's gonna be really fun for Joe and what he can do with it. Joe did have another criteria. It was draft a lot of Beast Boost, and we'll see what happens with that. All right, Cordell taking Tapu Fini. I love Tapu Fini. I really wanted it last season, but I kind of choked during my draft and didn't end up taking it. This mon, it just lives every hit, provides amazing terrain support for the rest of the team. Really, my favorite set with it is like the Choice Scarf trick set. I think that is something that is super slept on. Really cool. Not necessarily in Draft League, because we do have the ability to be holding Z items and Z crystals and Mega Stones. So like Trick is a little bit riskier of a play, but I think it's really useful still. Especially if you're able to cripple like a special wall that comes in on this or something. It also has access to knockoff, good defogger, really cool Calm Mind with Draining Kiss sets. Tapu Fini is just a really good mon. And yeah, Cordell's taken 2 of the best fairy types on his team available in our league already. So yeah, I like this pick a lot. I think Fini's really cool. All right, Orlando Magikarp running it up with Clefable. Yeah, this is just a scary top 3 overall from Dodge. Yeah, I won the championship in season 1 with Clefable. You can EV it to live anything you want, even super effective hits from strong steel types. Like you can make this thing just incredibly bulky. Its stats aren't really that impressive, but with abilities like Unaware and Magic Guard, you're able to just mitigate hazards, mitigate boosts. Yeah, really cool wish support mon. What was I running? I was running mostly like a soft-boiled Unaware set, and then I would kind of mix up the coverage, maybe run like a knockoff, maybe a Stealth Rock. But yeah, it has Gen 1 normal type coverage, right? So it's able to, run Flamethrower, run T-Bolt. It's got just incredible coverage for every mon in the game, and then it's just fat enough to live everything as well. So shout out Mr. White. Yeah, this bad boy's nice. All right, Flint Tropius taking Ninetales Alola. This is something that I was really excited about possibly drafting for myself originally when I was kind of thinking about this season. I love Ninetales Alola. I think the value of having Aurora Veil is extremely high. It influences all of your calcs. Now, Ninetales doesn't have like Prankster, like a Grimmsnarl or something that is a really top tier screen setter, but being able to put up both at the same time with a Light Clay, and then you just got that for 8 turns, really cool. Hail to break sashes on stuff. This really facilitates like a setup sweeper, especially like a Gliscor, where you can throw up Hail, throw up your Aurora Veil, break any sashes on the other team. Gliscor being as fat as it is, now with Aurora Veil, it's going to be able to live any hit, especially, weak Hidden Power Ices, get up an SD, and then just start nuking stuff. Really cool mon overall. Hypnosis, Encore, Grudge, all really valuable support moves as well. Plus it's a freeze dryer, so you can start busting through some bulky water types that Gliscor or Heracross might not appreciate. Allows you to not have to run like a Bullet Seed on a Heracross if you don't want to, because you have a strong freeze dry from this. Cool specs mon in general. And yeah, I love Ninetales Alola. I think this is a really cool pick. All right. Now, okay, just look at his team. What do you think he took next? Yup, we let it happen. We let Landorus T and Rotomosh team up together to pair with Mega Gallade. Just unreal. We let it happen. It's happening. We're just gonna all have to just pay for our negligence really in draft. Yeah, I mean, just amazing pivots. Rotomosh is really sick. Rotom forms are awesome because they have access to like Trick and Nasty Plot now. Yeah, you want to switch in your ground type on a Rotomosh to block its Volt Switch. Well, now you're getting Hydro Pump to the dome, right? Like, this thing is amazing. Only weak to Grass because of Levitate, other than like Mold Breaker mons. And yeah, I think he is between Landorus T and Rotomosh is just gonna be able to get Glade in like every other turn just to nuke something. This is gonna be so annoying to play against. Really cool mon though. I don't think we drafted it last season, which is a little bit of a shame. But yeah, I think you can just pivot around everything, and it's really fat. You can EV it however you need to with those really good defenses. Just throw max HP on it, and you're pretty much set. Yeah, really cool pick. All right, Berg going. He's following up his Pidgeot pick with Season 1 All-Star V-Create and Victini. Yep. Yeah, peace out, dude. That thing is amazing. I think Victini definitely has more value specifically as a wall breaker, but it does have its Victory Star ability, which is going to increase the accuracy of all the moves of your teammates by 10%. Obviously, Pidgeot doesn't really care because it has no guard. Scissor doesn't really care unless it's running like a dual wing beat and you just really need to hit your move or something. I think on Berg's team, this is going to be a really good fire type switch in, and a really good pivot to get into like Pidgeot. Plus, Scissor and Pidgeot can pivot into Victini. You know, you got a bulky water type that comes in, and you got a Banded Victini with Bolt Strike to take advantage of that. You know, you got a Steel type coming in for Scissor or Pidgeot, Victini, boom, V-Create to the dome. Really cool pairing here between everything. I think this is also really like useful utility mon. Offers a lot of stuff between its momentum, and it has like Trick Room and Trick. You know, you could really cripple a wall for Scissor or Pidgeot as well with this, which is awesome. So yeah, solid pick by Berg. And our last pick here of round 3 is going to be Garchomp. Yep, we let Mew and Garchomp fall all the way to Tyler. Yeah, he played Garchomp really well in Season 1, made the championship with it. He's mostly known for running it as like a defensive sort of Rocky Helmet wall, but you know, Garchomp can do so much more than that as well, and you have to prep for it, whether that's SD Scale Shot, you know, just like a pure Sword Stance wall breaker. You know, you got your Rocky Helmet, Stealth Rocker, Toxic, or just beefy Garchomp. Yeah, really cool speed tier, really great stats. It can hit you on the special side as well, so you do need to watch out for like a Fire Blast or something if you just think that you're, you know, I don't know, some sort of bulky grass type can just switch in on an Earthquake. Like, yeah, now you're just getting Fire Blasted to the dome. So, yeah, amazing pick. Really cool pairing with Scissor and Mew. They can get momentum for it, and yeah, I think Garchomp, I think we've been sleeping on it a little bit. It's really good. Okay, I don't think anything really stands out to me here other than maybe like Garchomp and Clefable being available in round 3. I think all of these were just, once again, really solid picks. Everybody was drafting extremely well at this point. We'll see at the end. I don't think anybody necessarily had a bad draft in general, but a couple picks were a little like, oh, whoa, what's that? And we'll talk about that when we get there, but I think round 3 was really strong. I love the Finny pick. Man, yeah, I really like that pick. Clefable, amazing pairing with Gengar and Mega Gyarados as well. I mean, I like my pick of Lopunny. I think Lopunny is really annoying to prep against. I did not enjoy trying to play against Tyler last year when he had that, and yeah, I'm excited to not have to think about that this season. All right, round 4. We're moving right along. We're, what, 38 minutes in? Okay. All right, so round 4, we got Glow King making its debut in the NCPBL. We haven't seen this taken yet, and yeah, this is going to be an amazing special wall for Tyler. The main difference between stats between Galarian Slowking and regular Slowking is it has 10 more base special attacks, so its future sights are hitting like crazy. Same special bulk, same amazing move pool, essentially. It doesn't have access to teleport, so it does lack a little bit of momentum in that sense. And you are going to want to run like an Assault Vest on it generally, so you don't have like super reliable recovery outside of Regenerator, but that said, Regenerator is one of the best abilities in the game. You're not going to be super disappointed with that. I think this is great. This is going to eat any sort of like special ice move, special fire move for your Scissor or your Garchomp. you know, you're stacking a little bit of a dark weakness here between Mew and Slowking, especially being defensive pivots. You know, you kind of want to be able to complement those a little bit better, I would think. That might be something that you patches up in free agency, though. But yeah, overall, like, I'm glad this thing is making its debut. It's really, really good. I was highly considering it. I think it pairs really well with like a Tornadus. But yeah, I kind of decided to go with like the momentum of Slowbro instead. But yeah, awesome pick. All right, round 4 Berg. And here's where the plan starts to come together. Bird spam is in effect. You got 2 incredibly strong hitting, special attacking birds now between Pidgeot and Swellow. Just like Specs Boom Burst off of Scrappy Swellow is insane. But it can also run like a Flame Orb Gut set with Facade, and amazing speed tier as well. He's really kind of pushing it up. I think it's 125 is what Swellow hits. But yeah, with a great momentum out of Victini, Pidgeot, and Scissor to get this in, get it burned with the Flame Orb, and then you can just start throwing off Facades on the next turn without actually taking the hit. I think that's really cool for how frail it is. Yeah, kind of a glass cannon, but bird spam is really tough to prep against. All right, E, Suicide Hotline. I don't know the number straight off the top of my head, but yep, Mimikyu is getting taken here. This is a tier 2 free slot, and yeah, I mean, this thing is amazing. It really deters setup sweepers, not as well as like a Ditto does, but you can run like an eject button or a red card or something and be able to pivot around using your disguise ability and not taking any hits on that first turn. So you know, you lose 1/8 of your health, but you can kind of deter somebody from setting up. I think it's really good attack stat too. You can Sword Stance with it. Unfortunately, it's not tier 3, so you can't run like a Z Splash or a Let's Snuggle Forever. Yeah, that's the Z Fairy move off of Mimikyu. But it's still really cool. Good Trick Room user, in case there's some sort of matchup that you have that you want to just, you know, flip it up real quick. Really cool with Mental Herb. You know, nothing's going to be able to kill you through the disguise. You get your Trick Room up, you start sweeping. Crazy coverage with like Woodhammer and stuff too. Generally you see like Shadow Claw, Shadow Sneak, and Play Rough, but it has like Drain Punch, it has Woodhammer. Yeah, really annoying to prep against. Especially if whatever you have to hit your like a fairy or ghost type super effectively can't deal with disguise, Mimikyu is probably going to be able to answer back and kill it. So yeah, really tough bomb to prep against, and I think overall, like those first 4 picks for E are just going to carry him through this season, really. All right, Graham taking his 4th pick, and we see Tyrantrum coming out. Now, this is a really cool wall breaker. I think overall for his team, he needs a little bit more momentum to take advantage of it, but he's kind of building like a Dragon Fairy Steel Core. I think Tyrantrum actually like has a lot of viability in Draft League. It's not great on the ladder, but when you're able to know what your opponent's team has, and you're able to set up your specific like Dragon Dance set for it, or even run like a Choice Band and get good momentum into it, I think this is pretty cool. Really tough to like prep against because it just breaks physical walls. It's just so strong. You know, Head Smash is just not something you switch into. So yeah, overall really cool pick. Just got to be able to position it correctly. I think that's where its value comes from, is you need to support it, and as long as he's able to do that, this thing's going to be able to hit really strong. All right, Orlando Magikarp taking Arcanine. So yeah, you guys kind of see the theme here. We're going all Gen 1, stuff that Dodge is familiar with. I think Arcanine's really strong. It's probably one of the better fire types in tier 3. Now that it has access to teleport and heavy duty boots, it can be a really good defensive pivot, especially with Morning Sun. You know, come in, get slow momentum for the rest of your team. It has a fire immunity. It has Intimidate, one of the best abilities in the game. Great Gen 1 coverage as well. You know, it has like Wild Charge, Extreme Speed. It can be very offensive if you need it to be. Fits a good speed tier for Dodge. With 95, slotting in between like Gyarados and Gengar. I think this is a really good pick. Yeah, I like personally have not been a huge fan of Arcanine in singles, but I've never used it in Draft League, and I think it has a lot more value there because of how much variety you can use with it. You should be able to, you know, cater it to your opponent's 10 mons a lot easier than just building like neutral coverage for the ladder. Yeah, I think this is going to be something that he's familiar with, like playing with Entei, and this is kind of like a budget Entei on an offensive standpoint, but a much better defensive Entei. That's kind of like how I view Arcanine in general. But yeah, good momentum for Gyarados and Gengar. I think this is a really solid pick. All right, Cordell taken with his fourth pick. We got Gyarados. Yeah, so this is just a demon. This is something I was very on the edge about between tier 2 and tier 1. I think it does belong in tier 2 based off of some of the other threats in there, but man, this thing is, it's so tough to play against. You know, like you have two really good rockers in Diancie and Heatran, and now you have a really fantastic defog deterrent in Zapdos. You know, you switch in on a defog, and now you got +2 attack, and you're just about to throw Brave Birds, Thunderous Kicks, Close Combats, just right down through somebody's throat. Plus, it has U-turn, which is really good momentum for Diancie and Heatran, along with patching up a ground weakness between the two of them. Yeah, this is just like a fantastic slot here. He needed a really good flying type, and while you don't necessarily use Gyarados as a flying type, it forces people to be aware and not just spam ground moves against you, which I think has value in itself. But yeah, not very defensive, but from like a team cohesion point, I think this fits perfectly in there. Plus Defiant is just one of the best abilities in the game. I mean, if I had to rank them, it's probably like Regenerator, and then like a combination between like competitive Defiant, which are basically the same thing, one's special attack, one's attack, and then Sheer Force, Mold Breaker, Magic Bounce. You know, that like some mix of those are probably like the top 5 or 6 abilities in the game for sure. And he has Magic Bounce and Defiant on his team. All right, Joe going with the 4th pick. We got Celesteela. This is something Joe really wanted to play with. I think this is a very high skill mon, as it is a bulky steel that doesn't have rocks or active recovery. So you kind of rely on like Leech Seed and leftovers in order to get your health back for how bulky you are. But the cool thing about it is it's also very offensive. You can run an auto-demise set, double your speed, and then just start blowing stuff up with you know, air slashes, power or meteor beams, flamethrower. Celesteela has really fantastic coverage with like heavy slam, earthquake. Yeah, it's just able to hit everything in the game. And in Draft League, that's super valuable. You're able to kind of cater it however you want. You know, you have your electric resisting Tapu Koko. I would probably want to get a nice fire type, to be able to eat some more like fire moves for Celesteela, or a strong, like a bulky water that can eat like some of the really good rock moves if they get you on the wrong side. Celesteela is known for running like really bulky Leech Seed sets, or like an offensive setup sweeper almost, and just stacking Beast Boosts. But we see the second Beast Booster out of the Hartford Yard Go-Goats, and I think that's pretty cool. All right, Miami Heatran taking Incineroar. So we're finally patching up that ice weakness a little bit on Tommy's team. I really enjoyed using Larbenjarms when I had it in Season 1. It's obviously the GOAT of VGC. There's never been a VGC championship that didn't have Incineroar win. Whatever. Ever since it's been released, that's insane. But in singles, it still has a lot of good utility, like Parting Shot and U-turn for momentum. If you're running like some sort of toxic set on something else, using Fake Out to stack toxic pressure is really cool. Yeah, Intimidate, which is just a fantastic typing. Knockoff, really great, especially in this format. You can kind of scout Z moves. You know where the Mega Crystal is going to be, but knowing what is carrying a Z move is actually really cool as well. Yeah, I think just in general, this is a really good mon, especially pivoting for Mamoswine and being an ice type to eat those hits from Zygarde and Sceptile. Yeah, I think this fits perfectly on this team. You could also do some funny Flame Charge, Weakness Policy, Bulk Up. What was my full set on that? It was like Power Trip with Weakness Policy, Flame Charge, Bulk Up, and Drain Punch. Get some health back. Yeah, that really fun Larbinger Arms. Alright, so with my 4th pick, I was actually very surprised this was still available, but I just hopped on it. I'm taking my tier 3 Rotom Heat. I was really in between Rotom Heat and Moltres. I thought tier 3 had the best value for fire types in general. And yeah, I kind of, I've been getting bodied by bulky water types in Draft League. And yes, I know this is not going to beat a bulky water type, but it is going to at least help. And it gives me a lot of momentum as well. Kind of sensing a theme here. All 4 of these Pokemon can generate some form of momentum, whether that's Volt Switch, Teleport, or U-Turn. Yeah, I think it fits in really well here. It's another good electric type answer for stuff that's going to threaten Tornadus and Slowbro, and then it's another good ice type answer for Tornadus. So I think that's pretty cohesive. And yeah, support moves like Will-O-Wisp, Thunder Wave, Toxic. I can throw some Nasty Plots, try to sweep with some Overheat sets. You know, like Z Ally Switch, double my speed. Trick on a Scarf set, like, and obviously classic Heavy Duty Boots. Heavy Duty Boots, I think, really buffed Rotom Heat in general, and now this is a viable defogger if I want to be able to get rid of hazards with something other than Tornadus on this team. So yeah, I love this pick. I want to see how it plays out through the season. I kind of have a feeling that its stats are deceptive, or it's not actually going to live as much stuff as I really want it to, but I think it's going to be a good flying type check for Lopunny and another nice ground immunity, so we'll kind of see how that plays. Alright, Chicago Cubone taking Makalola. Aloha to the Alola. Yeah, I think this is a strong pick. This is probably... So between Drapion, Skuntank, and Makalola, I think this is my favorite Poison Dark type. Yeah, really good Pursuiter, really great Assault Vester. Really, he can allow Ferrothorn now on his team to be a good physical answer for stuff and let Muck be a special sponge. Great knockoff support. Yeah, I mean, it's just super versatile overall. That's pretty much all I have to say about it. Because it can be offensive. It doesn't have a great speed tier, but it can hit really hard. Especially, you know, with how much coverage it has, it's basically able to hit everything that you'll see super effectively. So, yeah, really, really good pick here. I love Makalola, and yeah, good on MJC. Yeah, out of this round, I mean, a couple things stand out to me as like super strong picks. I think Glow King out of Tyler, really, really good. Really great pairing for him. He needed a good special wall with Scissor and Garchomp, so I think that fits in perfectly there. Mimikyu is going to be super tough to prep against. I'm not going to enjoy prepping against Gyarados either. I think the most surprising picks were probably Swellow and Tyrantrum. It just felt like those probably would have been available later on down the road, but both are really, really strong heavy hitters, so if you're able to position correctly, they at least are going to get their value out in the team. So yeah, and so moving forward here, I just wanted to break down the first 4 rounds pick by pick, but I'll still talk about every single mon in each round. So we have round 5 here, and Mr. Rhyme is actually the first tier 5 taken in the draft. So in round 5, MJC's hopping onto that. Mr. Rhyme is actually really cool. It's a great screens deterrent, and I think this was something that was prompted by the Ninetales Alola pick. It got everybody thinking about, okay, how the heck am I supposed to beat, you know, Aurora Veil? And Mr. Rhyme with Screen Cleaner, really cool ability, wipes the screens off of the field every time it switches in, so that's very useful. I believe it has really cool support moves like Healing Wish and Trick. So, yeah, we'll see what Mega he ends up getting up later, but I think they pair really well together, especially having like a Healing Wish support from something like that. Also, like, pretty respectable special attack. You can throw a Scarf on it, throw some Specs on it, really just, you know, throw some nukes down there. Okay, so I took Nidoqueen with my next pick. This was something I thought I was needing, based off of my picks so far, I didn't have any sort of like really good wall breakers, that especially ones that needed like no setup required. So a Life Orb, Sheer Force, Nidoqueen I thought fit perfectly. I prefer Nidoqueen to Nidoking for the bulk. I think Nidoqueen is useful as a defensive poison type, great fairy check, and I think you can do it more consistently than Nidoking, especially since in Draft League you can kind of see where your speed tiers are at. Maybe I don't want to run speed on Nidoqueen because it's not going to outspeed a whole lot, and I can just kind of throw a bunch into HP. But at the same time, I can run Scarf on it, and it has a good enough speed tier that I can outspeed a lot of stuff. I think I can outspeed, like, I have Mega Lopunny, but I think I can outspeed base 130s with the Scarf Nidoqueen, which is pretty cool. Yeah, that's just, I thought it was a really versatile pick. G-Molt out of Tommy. This is, once again, compounding his ice weakness, but I think this mon is very underrated, and I'm glad it got drafted again. Berg had some pretty good use with it in Season 1, and I think it's just super scary with its Double Dance set, and since we're allowing Z moves on tier 3s, this doesn't have to rely on Hurricane being 100% accurate. He can just throw off Supersonic Sky Strike and just blow something up with a, I think it's base 100 special attack Moltres, but if you get a Nasty Plot off, maybe running like a weakness policy because you're so bulky, and then throwing off a Z move off of that, I think that is incredibly strong. Now Joe's taking Nidoking here. Really, Ty took it, but we're gonna just say it was Joe. Yeah, I think this helps with electric types. He only had Coco to resist it up to this point, and yeah, I think he could get some good value out of another wall breaker. He didn't have anything with like the sheer power, sheer force, sheer power of Nidoking up on his team up to this point, and I think it just fit really well as well. So going to Gastrodon here with Cordell. I thought this was an interesting pick given that he had Tapu Fini already. I don't hate it. I think Gastrodon is really cool, especially in Draft League where you can throw Rindo Berries on it and be ready for like grass type attacks. Adds a pretty nice electric immunity as well to his team. I just feel like he already had a bulky water with Tapu Fini, and this seemed a little redundant. I'll talk about every team as we finish here after round 10, but I kind of got some ideas for him. That way he's not compounding bulky water types that way. But at the same time, it is pretty nice to have that versatility of maybe I want Fini, maybe I want Gastrodon this week, and kind of go back and forth between those two as the weeks go on. Next up, we see another Gen 1 out of Dodge. We got Aerodactyl. This thing is going to be super scary this season with access to Z moves. Life Orb Home Claws with Stonehenge is, I mean, tell me a switch and you can't. It's so good. You got to just revenge kill it with something faster. Yeah, it really strong mon, and he had a ton of success with it in Season 1 as well. It was really good for him then. Alolan Raichu. Okay, so we got the second Alolan form on Graham's team here. This is his first tier 4 pick. Now he's getting some momentum, right? He's got a little more Volt Switch and U-turn core between Gliscor and Raichu. It's pretty nice being an electric psychic type with access to Nasty Plot. It can really bust through a lot of stuff, especially with Psyshock. Overall, I think this is a good mon. I think overall, there was a ton of other stuff available. You know, we're only a 10-team league, and then we have like, I don't know, 40-something in Tier 1 and 60-something in Tier 2. Just off the top of my head, rough estimates. But yeah, I don't know if he needed to dive into Tier 4 just yet. But you know what? It's not the worst pick. And getting some more momentum onto his team, I think, is really appreciated. All right, Tier 3 Bisharp coming out of Paul here. Really cool to deter, defogs from Stealth Rocks out of Landorus. I think that's really useful as well, because I think Gallade can really shine if rocks are up. It's able to just bust through, break some focus sashes, just get those additional pieces of chip through momentum between Landorus and Rotom, making the opponent switch and taking rocks, forcing heavy-duty boots on stuff. That's also very valuable in of itself. And yeah, I don't think we've seen Bisharp really do what it really can so far in our first 2 seasons. It hasn't been bad, but I don't think it's lived up to kind of my expectations for it, so we'll see what he can pull off. Now we see Steelix coming here out of Berg. I think this fits really well with his team. He needed an electric immunity if he's going to go with bird spam. So I think Steelix is the best steel type in tier 4. I don't think it was tier 3 worthy, but it was definitely kind of borderline, right? I think it was one of the top tier 4s. Really great rocker for his team now. Once again, an electric community always appreciated. It's neutral to ice, and generally you can just run like special bulk in it. You just run like a Careful Nature, max special defense, max HP, and now you can just live hits for days. Throw some lefties on there and just be like a good wall to switch into stuff. I think it's really good, especially with like body press. You can run like some curse sets with gyro ball. That'd be really strong. Solid rocker for sure, because a lot of stuff that is going to get rid of rocks is not going to appreciate being in front of a Steelix. So yeah, I think that pick is fantastic for his team. And now we see Greninja Torrent version going to Sato. I think we made a good call moving this up from tier 3 to tier 2 before the season, because Greninja with Z moves in this would be absolutely busted. I think Torrent Greninja is still very valuable. It's basically like a budget Ashgren, because you can't change your type, but you still have all the same great coverage. You know, you got Gunk Shot, where we allow hidden powers, Hidden Power Fire. You can run Hidden Power Ground if you needed to, Toxic Spikes, Regular Spikes, U-Turn, Dark Pulse, Ice Beam. I mean, the list is just endless with Greninja of what it can do. Really, really useful mon. Great momentum again with U-Turn. Being able to get in like his Garchomp and maybe like a setup Mew. This is technically a Dark Resist for Glow King and Mew. I wouldn't consider a Greninja with what its stats are to be a resist of anything technically, but he does finally get a dark type there. Going on to the next slide, we are, oh yeah, Mienshao. So we're snaking back up. Now he has a nice momentum core that's actually pretty offensive between Glow King and Mienshao. Yeah, man, this thing is scary. Really good speed tier. It can be a Scarfer. It can be an Assault Vester. I mean, it can do a ton. Man, Reckless high jump kicks just hit insanely hard. Regenerator, best ability in the game. Inner Focus, you know, you got some sort of matchup where you're expecting to get flinched from a fake out or whatever, maybe against me with Lopunny. Just run Inner Focus and then just kill back with close combat. Like, you know, it can do so many things, and it's really tough to kind of prep against because you have to be expecting Scarf, Band, Regen AV, Inner Focus. Like it has so many things it can do. Really great coverage. It's a fighting type, obviously, so it kind of has, you know, the classic knockoff Stone Edge sort of coverage that hits all of its, you know, resistances of fighting moves. So yeah, really good pick. We're getting another electric resist out of Berg here with Raikou. This is another mon he's familiar with. He had it last season. I think overall it's a really great pick, especially in our format where you can run Hidden Power Ice on it again. It already has access to Scald and Aura Sphere, which are really useful. Good momentum with Volt Switch to be able to get his like Victini in, get his Scissor in, make some sort of Volt Turn core. You know, get your hard hitters like Swellow and Pidgeot in as well. I think it's going to be really useful for him. All right, Charizard out of E. Once again, with how much momentum he has, I think this is a pretty solid pick in that regard, especially since you can run heavy duty boots. Now, if you wanted to do something more like a belly drum set or like a setup with like flame charge or whatever, I think the combo of Bisharp and Charizard don't really pair well together, because Bisharp is like deterring defogs, and your Charizard needs rocks off the field if it's going to run any other item other than boots, right? So I don't think those two synergize really well, and I think that's going to come into play in prep, where people aren't going to run rocks, or they're not, or they're going to run rocks for your Charizard, and they're just going to have to deal with your rocks being up on their side, so they'll just run boots or whatever, and not even have to like worry about click and defog. So I think there's going to be like a weird balance with that. However, I think Charizard actually is really, really good, especially with heavy duty boots now. You know, pretty baseline stats overall, decent speed tier at 100, but it has really good coverage, and you can really cater it to your opponent's team, and I think that's pretty cool. Also a good defogger now as well. Okay, we see Bastiodon finishing out the Dragon Fairy Steel Core for Graham. I think this is overall really solid tier 5 steel. Its defenses are just incredible. It's a rocker. It doesn't have active recovery or anything, but it does have metal burst, so you can kind of take a hit and just deal back 1.5 times damage on either side, which is just absolutely sick. Especially something with sturdy, right? Like you're always going to be able to live that hit, and then you're just going to blow them back. It does have a lot of weaknesses, being a steel rock type. You know, it's not going to like ground type moves. It's not going to like fighting type moves. So you really kind of have to pick your poison, which resist berry you end up putting on it, if you even do. But yeah, that's yeah, I think it fits his team pretty well. Crazy high defenses for sure. Can live a lot of hits. All right, we got Dugtrio, another Gen 1 type coming out of Dodge. This is actually our first time drafting it, and it has the access to Arena Trap. So he'll be able to trap anything that is grounded, anything that doesn't run a shed shell that touches the ground will be stuck in there if he's running Arena Trap. I personally like Dugtrio, especially with like access to Z moves, and I believe it's tier 3, so he should be able to run Z Memento on it. I don't know if he ever will, but that Z Memento is really sick. It lowers the attack and special attack of the opposing mon on the other side. Your Pokemon faints, the mon that comes in, if it was Z Memento, ends up getting like essentially a healing wish when it switches back in. So like that's something that like we definitely have to watch out for. I think it's going to be incredible for Dodge. I think being able to just trap a threat to Dragon Dance Gyarados and just be like, you know what? Yeah, that electric type that I thought was a little scary, you know, it's not on the field anymore. That's pretty much where it's at with Dugtrio. And you know, running Banded, running Focus Sash with like Reversal is really cool, and then Sucker Punch. Yeah, I think Dugtrio can do a ton of stuff. I really hope Dodge is able to kind of maximize its potential, because I want to see what it can do. I think it's really cool. All right, we see tier 4 Sneasel coming out of Cordell here. I like Sneasel a lot. I think it actually has a lot of value in tier 4. Obviously, Weavile's better. Nobody's going to argue that, because you're not really running a Violate on Sneasel. You're still running Choice Band. You're still running Life Orb. You're still running Heavy Duty Boots. So like you're trying to get as much power out. And it has a base 115 speed tier, if I remember correctly. So you're able to kind of like bump up what speed tiers you have on your team, with Diancie being your highest at 110 and Zapdos at 100 underneath of that. 115 is pretty much like the bench line of like where you need to be on speed tiers. Anything underneath of that, you're kind of losing a lot of value in draft, because your opponent doesn't have to run as much speed, meaning they can put a lot of EVs into their HP at that point, and now all your calcs are kind of messed up because they're a lot bulkier. So I think this is a good pick for a speed tier. I think I don't necessarily think he really needed something to beat like, you know, psychic types necessarily. He has a ton of answers to dragon types already, so it doesn't really need the ice coverage. But in general, this being like a pursuit trapper, a good revenge killer with ice shard off of a choice band, I think overall it has good value. All right, Blastoise Mega out of Joe. This is what I was talking about 2 rounds ago with him. I think a bulky water like this fits really well with this team, especially to support like a Celesteela, and especially like Nidoking now as well. Rapid Spin support is really great. We are not allowing Shell Smash on it, but it still has access to like Work Up if you want to boost still. Rapid Spin boosts its speed. Mega Launcher off of Dark Pulse and Aura Sphere, and Water Pulse is so good. Yeah, I think this is a really good mon. We haven't seen it play yet in our league, but yeah, can't wait to see what it can do. And now we have Lapras coming out of Tommy. This is another thing to patch up his ice weaknesses, which I think is a really smart call. It adds a water immunity as well, which is great. Lapras is really cool, good Perish song. Freeze Dry is always just an amazing move. I think Lapras overall has a lot of good value for him. We're not running G-Max, so you don't get your Aurora Veil up via that, but I think Lapras is pretty cool. Alright, I took Ferroseed next. This is my budget Ferrothorn. I think it pairs super well with Tornadus specifically. I'm able to, set up spikes, set up stealth rocks, knock off stuff, thunder wave stuff, just be a general nuisance. And with an Eviolite, man, this thing, the calcs with this thing is insane. I was using like Landorus Therian for a lot of my baseline calcs and draft prep, just to kind of see what stuff would take. And I think like if I'm running max defense on a Ferroseed, a max attack like Life Orb Landorus does like 40%. Like it's just ridiculous that I can eat that. So yeah, I think this will pair really well with Slowbro as well. They kind of cover each other's weaknesses, and I'm excited to use this. I think this is going to be one of my more popular tier 5s that I bring every week, or tier 4, tier 5, since we have that restriction. I feel like it fits super well on my team, and that's why I would lean towards it. But maybe that helps me out in prep, because people are going to be like, oh, that makes sense that he brings it. Maybe I don't bring it, and then catch him off guard with something else. So this thing is such a nuisance. I wish it had access to body press. That would be really fun to use. But yeah, I'm so excited to have it. And MJC taking my nemesis right here, Melodic. Man, every game that I've played against a Melodic, it has just came down to the wire, and I've hated every second of it. This thing is so bulky. Flame Orb, just run that Marvel scale, and now you don't die to anything. You just recover it all off. You haze off any boosts if somebody tries to break through you like that. You run Toxic. You stall your bulky grass types that switch in. You need something that is a really offensive grass type or a offensive electric type to be able to deal with this. He ran this in season 1, MJC did. I think he just ran Marvel Scale Flame Orb every time with it, but it also has competitive. So if you want to try to hazard stack and then defog into your Melodic, well, now you have a super offensive Melodic with a very respectable special attack stat firing back onto you. I think that's something that you definitely have to keep an eye on. You can't just click defog all willy-nilly against it, even though Marvel Scale is definitely the preferred ability. But yeah, overall in this round, I think the biggest surprise to me, was the Charizard out of E. I just don't think it paired well with Bisharp necessarily, even though both are individually really good. I don't know. I think it's a little tough to kind of pair the two together. Mienshao, really fantastic pick. I think this one is actually one of the scariest things to look at on Tyler's team, just because you don't know what it's going to do in prep every week. Now, I think, using it as like a dark type answer is like a little risky. You could throw an AV on there with regen, and then now it's a little bit more consistent, but it doesn't really have great defenses in general. So yeah, just my thoughts on that. Overall, another solid round from everybody. I like seeing the Dragon Fairy Steel Core coming out of the Flint Tropius. I want to say, other than... Yeah, I mean, Tommy technically has one via Mega. I'm looking through. I think Graham is the only one with the Dragon Fairy Steel Core. Dragon. I guess technically Sato. Shinotic. Yeah, sure, whatever. I'll give that to you. Yeah, Tommy and Ty, I don't love their Dragon Fairy Steel Cores. I like Graham's a lot more. Okay, so going on to the next round, following up that Melodic pick, we got Beware coming out. And yeah, this is actually a really cool mon. With Fluffy, it actually has a really good defense stat. This thing can just bulk up on basically anything and just start breaking. Really strong Pokemon for sure. Normal and fighting, great typing. I got my Lopunny. You know how I feel about that. Yeah, in general, I think this is just something that if he's able to pivot into, which he has good momentum with, like, you know, flip turn Melodic, U-turn Zapdos, he's able to get Beware in and just kind of break through something. That's going to be really scary to deal with. So yeah, I saw Melodic get picked 2 picks ago, and I was like, okay, I'm not dealing with that ever again. I'm picking up Zeraora. I need an answer to it. But even though this was, you know, a good answer for bulky waters, I think Zeraora adds a lot more value to my team than just that. It's another really good pivot. I have 2 Volt Switch users now. I think it pairs really well with Tornadus and Slowbro as well, being an electric immunity with Volt Absorb. And even if I need it to like wall break or something, I throw in a bulk up Life Orb set, and now I got close combats and plasma fits and all sorts of stuff coming down your throat. So I don't know. I think it's a really solid pick. I was shocked it was available at 62, and I kind of pulled what I did last season in draft, where like something was available that I didn't think was going to get back to me, and I just took it. And then I kind of went off the rails with the rest of my draft, and I was like, well, I wasn't ready for that. It's cool that I have it, but definitely wasn't ready mentally to pick it up. And we see Miltank coming out from a Miami Heatran at pick 63. Very surprising that this was still available. This is arguably one of the better tier 4s. It's so fat. It's able to tank everything, throw up rocks, heal bell support, milk drink, seismic toss. It has 3 really good abilities in Sap Sipper, Scrappy, and Thick Fat. It's just able to do a whole lot of stuff. Plus, it's a base 100 speed Pokemon. Like, you know, you can do a ton with it. You can do a little, I think it's block, curse, body press, rest. I think that's my my Chinese set for it. So watch out for block Miltank. Just a heads up on that. Yeah, I like that set a lot. But yeah, Miltank, great tier 4, really good pick on Tommy's end. Adds another ice resistance. Definitely helps out with Zygarde and Sceptile for sure. All right, Drifblim. Really cool Unburdened synergy here with Coco and Drifblim on Joe's team. Yeah, I think this is just something that's really nice for his speed tiers. They were kind of lacking up until this point, and like an Electric Seed Drifblim, I think is really fun. He's able to do a lot of cool stuff with it. Momentum with Baton Pass. Now, you can't pass stats in our league or substitutes, but you know, you get a little bit of momentum here. Adds a normal type immunity as well with the ghost typing, which is always valuable. And yeah, a good spin blocker. I think this is a really good Pokemon overall. Especially in tier 5. Like, you know, in general, right? You know, you don't really want Drifblim, but in tier 5, I think it's really good value. All right, tier 2 Tangrowth coming out to the Shiftry Shogunate. Great ground resist. Really fantastic pickup here. The synergy between this, Gyarados, Heatran, and Diancie is fantastic. And then he can kind of throw on one of his bulky waters afterwards, and then pick a tier 4 and lower after that. Like, I think this is a really strong pick. Yeah, I like how it fits on his team. Regen, once again, fantastic. Don't have enough good things to say about it. All right, Dodge taking Hitmonlee. I really enjoy Hitmonlee. It has really fantastic coverage. It's a good spinner. You can run, you know, like high jump kicks on it on a Scarf version. Fake out support. I think it gets U-turn. I could be wrong. I want to say it gets U-turn though. I think Hitmonlee is very, very good. And yeah, he got it all the way down in tier 4. So super cool pick. So the next pick, probably just not going to talk about. I think everybody's cool with that. I think we all know what Toxapex does. Yeah, Graham, we're just giving you a hard time, but yeah, Toxapex, man, this is going to be annoying to play against. Make sure you bring your ground and your psychic types and your electric types. That's all I got to say. Yeah, this thing just eats every hit. I really want to see some sort of like merciless toxic spike. Perma-critting Toxapex this season. That would be really funny. But yeah, Regenerator off of those insane defenses, it's just not fair. It's such a good Pokemon. All right, next up, and Chansey. So we get 2 of our main Stalkors taken. Yeah, Physical Wall Toxapex and then Special Wall Chansey. I think Chansey has more value than just being a wall as well. It's a good cleric for the rest of the team. It's a good rocker. And like surprisingly, you can run like some offensive stuff with it too. It has really good coverage. But yeah, I mean, Chansey's a Chansey. I don't really have to dive too deep into that, I don't think. All right, next up is Wheezing Galar out of Berg. This is something that he was also familiar with last season, and I think overall fits a pretty good role for his team. Yeah, it's another like good physical answer with Steelix, but it's a ground immunity for Raikou and Victini. Not that he was really hurting on that with how many birds he has, but yeah, I think neutralizing gas is a really cool ability as well. Able to do some cool stuff regarding that. Good defogger, that way you can run offensive moves on your birds. Really cool coverage with, you know, poison and fire and fairy. Pain split, super annoying. You can throw a Z crystal on this bad boy, do some funky stuff like a Z haze, get all your health back. I believe it has haze at least, but yeah, that's pretty much Wheezing. It's pretty straightforward. I think it's mostly just coming in to be a good defensive pivot, maybe a defogger or something like that. Be a little annoying, maybe get a couple toxics off. But yeah, good pick overall. All right, so we see Golisopod here from Tyler, and yeah, I think the Golisopod is super scary. I think it has a lot of value in tier 4 with super strong priority Aqua Jets and first impressions. I don't love the typing. I don't love the typing on his team as well, being water and bug, not being a fire resist, but being kind of a bulky water is weird. It's a good ground resist, but he's not really hurting on that. Yeah, so I think Golisopod's really good. I don't think it's the best fit for his team. It's really annoying in prep as well. First impression, you always just have to be ready to go into a switch-in or whatever, and if he calls your switch-in, hits you with a banded liquidation, then you're toast. Like, Golisopod is very scary for sure. But yeah, that's pretty much it for that round. We are gonna go on to, I think this is round 8, I think. Should be. Yeah. All right. So we start off with Dubwool here from Tyler. Dubwool is something I had on my big board. I really liked it. That I was more so leaning towards it if I didn't already have a normal type Mega. But yeah, it actually is, it's crazy fat. It can Cotton Guard up. It has a really good speed tier as well. Hit you with some fast body presses, double edges. Yeah, I think Dubwool is actually super underrated, and it's going to be an absolute nuisance to deal with this season. Yeah, I just like the pick in general. Really cool. Plus, is it Fluffy? I think it has Fluffy instead of Fur Coat. So a little, yeah, I think that's it. So, you know, double the defenses off of that as well, which is even better. Pre-Marina coming out of Berg. He's taking another fairy type the following round, but a good water type. He actually didn't have a water type up until this point, and Pre-Marina is arguably the best one in tier 3. Absolute cannon coming out of a Pre-Marina with, you know, Specs Moonblast, Hydro Pumps, Psychics even, like, you know, Toxapex isn't really a switch into Pre-Marina if it, you know, it's carrying like a Shattered Psyche Psychic or something. Really cool pick. I like Pre-Marina a lot. Adds momentum, and it can be defensive. You can run like Assault Vest on it. You can run full physical defense with like a Rest Talk set. Overall, really solid Pokemon. Muck. Now, Muck I do like on E's team a lot here. I think this is a pretty good fit overall. Adds another like special, you know, sponge, especially a tier 5 one, where you're not really getting a whole lot of stuff out of stats, but it actually has pretty good stats. Good Gen 1 coverage. It's able to, you know, cater its moveset to a lot of teams, especially in Draft League. And yeah, I think it would be a really cool fit on his team. Good poison type, good fairy answer for Mega Gallade as well, which is nice. All right, Volcanion out of Flint Tropius. I love this pick. This is my favorite pick for sure out of this round. Volcanion I think is super slept on. I had it in season 1 and Berg had it in season 2. It is very difficult to play with because you want to run heavy duty boots almost always on it. Because if you run in the Specs or Scarf set, you're just going to get whittled down by Stealth Rocks and not really be able to do as much. But even with just heavy duty boots, you put a ton into HP, you put a ton into special attack, and now you're just blasting people's steam eruptions. Amazing coverage too. Earth Power, Sludge Wave, Flamethrower, Explosion. Like, come on, man. This thing is so good. You can run Toxic and Defog. You know, it can do a lot of stuff. It doesn't have any momentum, but if you're able to feed it with your own momentum, and you can really capitalize on some stuff here. Butterfree. So this is something I'm actually not very familiar with what Butterfree can do. I know Dodge, you know, wanted to stay on his tier 1 stuff, and unfortunately Venomoth is a tier 4. So I think Venomoth is the superior of the moths and the butterflies in Gen 1. But anyway, Butterfree, I'm pretty sure it can Quiver Dance. It's pretty useful with like Sleep Powder and stuff like that. Little support with like Tailwind or Stun Spore for speed control. Yeah, I think it's just something that's going to be annoying. I don't know how often he's really going to bring it, because realistically, you have to throw heavy-duty boots on it because of that 4x weakness to rock. And then if you got that on there, you're just going to die to one hit without a Focus Sash. So, like, I think it's going to be very difficult for him to use, but if he's able to facilitate it correctly, I think it can be nice for speed control in general for his team. His team's not very fast, but, you know, the combination of maybe like Butterfree for speed control, and then like a Dugtrio trapping something that's faster than an Aerodactyl would be solid. Now, Aerodactyl is fast, but overall the rest of his team isn't super speedy. Okay, Luxray out of Cordell. I like Luxray. I think it is a very good wall breaker from tier 5. Guts boosted Facades are nothing to sleep at. Guts boosted Wild Charges, nothing to sleep at. I don't love its coverage. I think it gets Ice Fang. But for the most part, you're going to be running that same set with Guts and Facade, and just trying to blow through stuff, open up holes for Deancey to sweep, maybe something for a Scarf Zapdos to sweep. Yeah, that, and good typing, you know, pure electric type, nothing wrong with that for sure. All right, Cryogonal, this is patching the speed tier in Joe's team. He had nothing in between, I want to say, Nidoking and Coco before this pick, and so now he has a base 105 Cryogonal. Good hazard removal. I think the ice typing is actually pretty valuable on his team. Now, ice is not a great defensive typing, but I think just having another ice resist in general is pretty solid. Cool with active recovery. With recovery, it can run boots, run rapid spin. Freeze dry is always just one of the best moves in the game. And then once again, a good speed tier, so kind of closing those gaps on his team. All right, Tommy taking Metagross. I love this pick. I think Metagross fits his team really well. It's one of Tommy's favorite Pokemon, if not his favorite. Yeah, I think given you have Zygarde and Mega Sceptile, you have to be able to fill up as many you know, ice holes as possible. And Metagross, in my mind, I see Metagross coming as like an Assault Vester for Tommy most weeks. I think it's going to have better value for him not doing that, but based off of his team comp, I think he's going to want something that has more of that specially defensive kind of bias. And maybe he's running like Assault Vest Molt Galar or something to fill that up too. But yeah, Metagross, great coverage. I do wish it had some fire type coverage, but you can run like Scarf Trick on it, you can run Boom on it, you can run Bullet Punch for priority, Stealth Rocker, you know, Thunder Punch for bulky waters. Yeah, just overall pretty cool mon for sure. Definitely got to watch out for a Trick Metagross though. Now, Liepard. I took this for pure utility. I did need a dark type on my team, and I would appreciate a bulkier dark type, but I think Liepard can actually fill the role pretty well. It's going to actually be a pretty solid pursuit trapper for my Lopunny. That way I can break through some psychic types. Great knockoff support. I can change the weather if anybody wants to try to get a little cheeky on me and run like some sort of weather team. I have the ability to run like Sunny Day or Rain Dance on it. Rain Dance is actually really useful in my team too. If I'm able to just Rain Dance U-turn into Torn, throw off some Hurricanes that I can't miss. Thunders off of Rotom Heat. Yeah, I think that would just be super strong. Yeah, and also like switcheroo shenanigans. I can really cripple something with a really useless item. I can knock off stuff. I just think Liepard has really good support. I want to say it has access to Thunder Wave as well. I can't remember that. But yeah, that'd be cool for like speed control. Yeah. All right, so Runerigus coming out of the Chicago Cubone. I like Runerigus a lot. I think Runerigus is one of the better ghost types in Tier 4. I had my eyes on it for sure. Yeah, Trick Room setter. It's a Toxic Spike setter. It's a Stealth Rock setter. Amazing ability in Wandering Spirit, where if you touch it, your ability gets nullified, which is crazy, especially considering me with like a Mega Lopunny. You know, I just throw off like a powerful close combat into it. Well, guess what? Now I can't hit it again because I just made contact with it. So like that's pretty cool. But yeah, Wandering Spirit, really nice. Really bulky. I think it's like base 145 defense and like 120 special defense or something crazy like that. So it's able to eat a lot of hits. It can do some shenanigans with like memento and stuff. I think that this overall is a really solid pick for him. All right. Just kind of summarizing this round, I think Primarina and Volcanion were just like the class picks in this. Like I can't believe they fell that far. And maybe it's just me because I like water types a lot, but I think both of them are really solid. All right, round 9, we're gonna go with and start it off with Ribombee from MJC. He basically he's been saving his Mega this whole time. He's the last one to take a Mega. There's no point in him taking it any sooner than his last pick of the game. So he's filling in his holes of whatever he kind of wanted in general. So yeah, he's taking a tier 3 here to leave him with enough points for his Mega. And Ribombee is really cool, especially on his team. I think, you know, getting some webs up, you can actually facilitate like a Zapdos sweep or an Azelf sweep to get past Scarfers. You're able to really support maybe a Beware. That's pretty cool. And even Ribombee itself, just quiver dancing and kind of moonblasting its way through stuff. It's actually really strong, and overall, it's a really good Pokemon. I took Stunfisk Galar with my next pick. I wanted another rocker. I didn't necessarily need another steel type, but I thought it might be nice to have something other than Ferroseed as my steel. And then let's see, it's actually pretty cool. It has Snap Trap to trap stuff. I can kind of do some shenanigans with that, with like Toxic Spikes from Nidoqueen and then trap stuff and then make it take a bunch of like toxic damage. I think that's really cool. Yeah, overall, it's just like a good tier 5, like specific defensive check. If I find something that I'm really weak to, maybe like a Gardevoir right here, right? I could use my Stunfisk Galar to be a check to it. Just you know, overall in general, that was kind of my thought process with that pick. Nothing too fancy. Gardevoir coming out from Tom here. Yeah, I think it's a good... I think he needed another good special attacker. Given he had like Metagross, Incineroar, Zygarde, Mamoswine. He really only had Sceptile and Moltres Galar for good like special attack power. Another useful Trickmon. I think it has a lot of useful utility with Healing Wish to be able to get like a Zygarde back or make a Sceptile back into the game. That's going to be really annoying to play against, actually. Man, Healing Wish is such a good move. Okay, so we see Lycanroc coming out of Joe. This is another thing to fill in that gap. I think it's base 112 speed or something along those lines. So kind of creeping up again off of that Cryogonal, getting closer to the Coco. His speed tiers are definitely more manageable now with this, but it also has Accelerock, a really cool priority move. I think Lycanroc is super slept on. It's definitely one of the better tier 4s. I know I've been saying that a lot, but thankfully people have been taking the better tier 4s. I think there's a lot that are not necessarily trash down there, but there's some that don't really fit that well. But yeah, this goes great on his team, and yeah, adds a little bit more offensive power as well. Okay, Cordell taking Mr. Mime Galar. I like this mon. It's very useful in utility again. Screen cleaner. It has Vital Spirit in case you're worried about somebody hitting you with like a spore. Cough, cough, Tyler. It has Healing Wish. It has Trick. Cool specs, Scarf user. Yeah, just a lot of utility. Good coverage as well. Yeah, I think it's a pretty solid pick. I know he wanted Mr. Rhyme, but yeah, Mr. Rhyme Galler, maybe throw in a Violet on there and be like a screen setter. Could be cool. You know, you got a lot of options with it. All right, Tangela. Oh, I love Tangela. He definitely needed a grass type on his team. This rounds out his Fire, Water, Grass core. And, you know, his strategy here was pretty much just kind of staying balanced with the whole thing. And Tangela is a really good pivot. With Regenerator, you run a Violet on there. It's like an Assault Vest plus a boost on defense, you know, compared to a Tangrowth. So this is actually more physically bulky than Tangrowth, which is actually insane. Yeah, really good pick. I think it has a lot of utility. It doesn't have the same coverage that like Tangrowth has, but for a budget version, 2 tiers down, yeah, it doesn't really get much better than that. Spiritomb. I love this pick with Mega Heracross. I think this is a great combo. You get a good Pursuit Trapper to be able to take out bulky Psychic types, and then just let Mega Heracross cook with close combat. You know, you don't even have to think about predicting anything. You can just 180 plus base attack, close combat, and just send it. Yeah, I really like Spiritomb. It's bulky, it's annoying, it can do some like Will-O-Wisp shenanigans, Pursuit Trapping, Knockoff, great typing, only being weak to Fairy types, and then you have Volcanium, which is, and Toxapex, both of which are amazing Fairy type switch-ins. This is actually a really solid tier 4, and I can see this coming very often for him. It just fits his team really well. All right, Whimsicott coming out of E. I like the Whimsicott pick. I think it is an important speed tier for him. Getting something faster than Mega Gallade is definitely important. You know, just bumping that up, making stuff that is scarfing, force him to not have to put in as much HP EVs, right? You got to put in more speed to get past Whimsicott compared to a Gallade. Whimsicott has such good utility. Switcheroo, it can, you know, give you an eject button or something. It can give you a choice item, a lagging tail, throw up Tailwind for the rest of the team, Encore stuff, Subseed. Oh, Subseed is so nasty on Whimsicott. That's a really good set. Yeah, I think this mon is really annoying. It doesn't have the best stats, right? So if you're able to actually, you know, catch it while it's kind of like, you know, lacking a little bit, I think you can really take it out quickly, but otherwise it's a very annoying mon to play against. All right, Go-Goat out of Berg. He needed a grass type to round out his team, so he just kind of went with a tier 5 grass. I don't necessarily think this is a bad choice in tier 5. You know, there's like Blossom, there's Livani, there's... Gosh, I can't even think of any other grass types off the top of my head in tier 5. So like Go-Goat at least gives him a lot of like offensive pressure. This thing hits really hard. Yeah, not a whole lot to say about it. It gets Milk Drink. It can kind of be bulky if you wanted it to. Grass immunity. Not that his team is really hurting for grass types, but yeah, I overall, rounding out a Fire, Water, Grass core, I'm never going to knock that. All right, Articuno coming out of Tyler. I think this is a really solid pick for his team. Good ground immunity, good cleric, good defogger. You know, with the addition of boots, I think Articuno is so strong now. Plus it has Heal Bell. He's able to heal up maybe a burn on a Mega Scissor or Garchomp. Maybe Mew got toxic or something. You're able to fix that up real quick. Yeah, I love Articuno, especially on this team. I had it pretty high up on my board of stuff I wanted, and I was actually planning on taking it with my last pick, but yeah, no, just a solid pick overall. All right, final round here, and then I'll do a quick little summary of everybody's teams. We got Shiinotic from Tyler. So the main reason he took this is that he really wanted to kind of force prep with spores. It was something that he played against in another league that, you know, it forced safety goggles on stuff. And that in itself is inherently valuable because now maybe a fire type that would be your switch-in for that can't wear boots. And now it's taking Stealth Rock damage. So pretty cool. It does round out a Fire Dragon Steel Core, or a Fairy Dragon Steel Core. I don't necessarily think it's that great of a defensive switch into stuff, you know, that I would want my fairy type to be, but you know, it's not like there's a better option down in tier 5 for sure. So I think it fits well, gives them a grass type too. Pretty solid overall. All right, Dodrio. This is my favorite all-time Z move user. I love me some Dodrio. I think Berg, it fits really well, giving him a physical, like Brave Birder for his bird spam. So if you want to be able to deal with flying types, you have to be able to take him from both physical and special sides, which not every team is going to be able to do, I don't think. So yeah, adds momentum to the team. Really cool with like Z Mirror move. Really solid coverage between Jump Kick, Knockoff, and Brave Bird, and Return. Yeah, just overall really solid Pokemon. Throw a Choice Band on it, throw a Choice Scarf on it, you're set. Eldegoss out of E. I love the Regenerator. I do like that he got a Grass type other than Whimsicott for his team that has a little bit more of a defensive utility. I don't know. I think Eldegoss overall, for just being a pure grass type, you don't want it to be necessarily super defensive, but it doesn't have the speed to do anything other than that. Obviously, I'm nitpicking a tier 5 pick. Like, it's Eldegoss, you know, you're getting tier 5 value out of it for sure, and it fits your team pretty well. So I'm not going to knock it too hard, but yeah, and it's always nice having Regenerator too. So Regenerator in of itself, just getting a Mon with that in tier 5 is totally fine. All right, Shiftry out of the Flint Tropius. Nice offensive grass type. Great offensive coverage in general between grass and dark. Yeah, I think this was kind of like a luxury pick. I feel like Shiftry doesn't necessarily come every week. You know, this is our last pick of the draft, right? This isn't stuff that we're, you know, gluing teams together with. But yeah, solid tier 4. You know, maybe you run some sort of sunny day shenanigans. Now you got hail and sun on your team, and you got a chlorophyll Shiftry just life orb growthing its way through stuff. You know, just different options like that. All right, Pikachu out of Dodge, running it back. He had this last season. I think Pikachu actually fits his team really well. It gives him another pivot. With Light Ball, this thing is incredibly strong. It's just very hard to get it into position where it can really take advantage of that. But with pivots like with Arcanine, Clefable, if it's running Teleport, Hitmonlee, I don't think Aerodactyl has U-turn, but yeah, Hitmonlee, Arcanine, Clefable. Theoretically, you could get your Pikachu in there and just toss off some like Volt Tackles with Life Orb. Yeah, I think it's actually a pretty solid pick for Dodge. Plus he's a little familiar with it. All right, Arbok coming out of Cordell here. I am not gonna lie to you, I don't know what this thing can do other than glare. I don't have a whole lot of information on it. I know its stats aren't fantastic. It has Intimidate, which is totally fine. Glare is really good. So like that's good enough right there, right? But yeah, I'm pretty sure it just doesn't have good offensive stats. And then its coverage is like, all right. I want to say it has fire coverage to hit steel types. But yeah, I just don't think it has the stats to really capitalize on that. But yeah, Glare's pretty cool. So pretty nice. All right, Guzzlord. No, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, third Beast Booster out of Joe. Really cool. Gives him a Dragon type. Gives him a knockoff user. I think Guzzlord's really nice with specs. Run like Flamethrower, Draco Meteor, Dark Pulse, yada yada. Yeah, I think Guzzlord is just really solid. I think it's better offensively than it is defensively for sure. And yeah, excited to see what he can do with that. All right, Tornadus Incarnate. This is something I also had my eyes on originally. if I was going to go with like my Hail team, I thought it'd be really cool to have a Tornai. Really strong, 125 base special attack, 111 base speed. It has Defiant, it has Prankster, really cool utility here. It actually gives Tommy a Defogger. It's his only form of hazard removal after the draft. So, you know, very valuable in that sense. I think Tornai is very good. Really cool with a Z move now too. You can run like Supersonic Sky Strikes. I mean, it has Tornadus coverage, right? You're able to run like Shattered Psyches. What is it? Black Hole Eclipse off of Dark Pulse. All out pummelings off of Focus Blast. Like, you know, you got coverage for everything since it's one of the genies. Yeah, just really good mod in general. Really good pick. I took Gourgeist with my last pick. I needed a tier 4. I did want Runerigus, but yeah, I decided I'm going to still go with a Ghost type out of tier 4. I think Gourgeist is better in Draft League than Trevenant. I want to say Trevenant is just better in general, but in Draft League, I have the ability to run the Small Pumpkin, the Regular, the Large, or the Super, which all have different speeds and different stats between HP and attack. So it makes it a little unpredictable. It's going to make calcing for it a little bit tougher, and just prepping in general. You don't know which Gourgeist is coming. Meanwhile, I get to cater to exactly what I want for your team. You know, maybe I want to run a fast one, so I run the small one with like a sub-seed. Maybe I want to run a Trick Room option with Slowbro, and I just like run the Super, and now I have a really strong Ghost, like Poltergeist coming down. Yeah, just I got a bunch of options with it, which I thought was really valuable. Along with like Trick and Will-O-Wisp, it has a lot of support stuff for the team too. And our final pick of the draft, MJC finally taking his Mega, and it is Mega Pinsir. I think this fits really well on his team. I don't think there's a better Mega for what he drafted. It just, you know, it hits super hard. He has good momentum between Azelf and Zapdos to get it in, maybe get an SD up. You got your webs now, so your 105 base speed actually, you know, is going to outspeed a ton of Scarfers, which is really useful. And yeah, it's Draft League, so you can really cater your coverage how you want it between Earthquake, Stone Edge, you know, Return, Quick Attack, and then maybe, you know, a setup move or something. Yeah, just overall really strong picks. So I'm just going to kind of break down each team. So we got the Chicago Cubone, we got the entire team right here. I like this draft. I really do. I think that if he's able to stack hazards between webs and spikes and rocks, and he's able to use that momentum core of like Azelf and Zapdos and Melodic, that he's going to really have a good time with Beware and Pinsir, just like smashing through stuff. He has to be wary of like, obviously just like people defogging and getting rid of all of his progress, because other than like an Azelf, I don't really know how much he's going to be able to do to like deter that. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he can do. He has 2 really good wall breakers. I mean, really like 4 if he can Azelf and Zapdos on the special side. But yeah, I like his team a lot for sure. Yeah, I think we just got to watch out for like hazards and momentum out of him, and Azelf going boom boom. All right, so we'll talk about my team. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, I think I drafted really well, better than last season for sure. I mean, if you see Zera, Lopunny, Torn, Slowbro, and Rotom, and Liepard all have momentum to be able to get in my Nidoqueen, my Lopunny, my Zera, my Torn, getting in each other, right? I get some spikes up with like Ferroseed, get rocks up with something, Toxic Spikes with Nidoqueen maybe, and I'm able to just pivot around. And the Regenerator core between Slowbro and Tornadus I think is able to live a ton of stuff, and should just be fun in general. All right, Tommy. Yeah, really scary team. I think he did do a good job of patching up his ice weaknesses. It's just a lot of his stuff that is immune to ice or resisting it doesn't have recovery other than Miltank. Yeah, interesting draft overall. I think if I was him, I would have paired stuff closer with Zygarde earlier on. But you know, running like Miltank and Zygarde, that was proven to be pretty effective last season. I think Incineroar goes really well with them. Mamoswine is a fantastic ice type that, you know, he doesn't have to play against, which is really good. All right. Joe, I think Tyler did a great job with your draft, Joe. Overall, Coco and Ditto going to be super annoying to play against. Celesteela, incredible coverage. We'll see how that kind of plays out. Yeah, a bunch of Beast Boosters. Good momentum from Coco to get Nidoking in. Even, I think you can run Flip Turn on Mega Blastoise too, to get stuff in. So, yeah, overall, this is a really strong team. Really strong. I think it is a high skill team. I don't think this is something that is really easy just to kind of like, you know, pilot initially. I think it's going to take a little bit of practice for him to kind of get through. But yeah, it definitely has a really good ceiling. All right, Cordell in his first draft with us, I think he did amazing. Honestly, I think this team is really good. I think it fell off a little bit with his lower tier picks, but I mean, when you have Tangrowth, Gyarados, Deancey, and Heatran, and Finny, that top 5 is just like, all right, plug and play. We can put in anything else that we want. Yeah, it doesn't even matter what you have. That top 5 is just so clean. Yeah, I really enjoyed this draft. Good job, Cordell. All right, Dodge, Gen 1, amazing. I think just the combo of Gengar, Clefable, and Gyarados, his first 3 picks, is going to be so tough to play against. Clefable and Dugtrio are going to be incredibly annoying. He has top end speed out of Aerodactyl, obviously the Dragon Dance set out of Gyarados. He can Scarf his Hitmonlee, gives him a good spinner. Teleport from Arcanine is going to be really interesting. You know, you got your budget Tangrowth down there with Tangela, which is honestly sometimes better, given that we have to bring a tier 4 or 5 every week. Makes a lot of sense for that to come. Yeah, I think Dodge did a really good job with this draft. Obviously better than last season, cough. But yeah, no, good job, man. All right, Graham, his first draft with us. I think he did really well as well. I think there's a lot of like hidden synergy here between not necessarily typings, but because of stat distributions. The momentum core of Raichu plus Gliscor is going to be really strong. If I'm him, I'm probably looking to get something with more momentum, maybe through free agency, just to be able to get my wall breakers in, like Heracross. Heracross really appreciates getting momentum. Same with like Tyrantrum, that really appreciates being able to get pivoted into. That way they don't have to take a hit and then deliver one after maybe even taking a second one on the next turn, right? So overall, I think he covered his bases pretty well. I just probably wanted to see a little bit more momentum out of this. But yeah, I'm really excited to see Heracross put in some work, and I love the Ninetales pick. All right, E, man, I can't believe we let him do it. We let him do it. It happened. We let him do it. Rotomosh, Lando T, Gallade. That enough said. Enough said. Moving on. Spurred Bam, Bird Spam, Schmurd Mam. Yeah, if you don't have a flying type resist, Berg's gonna run right through you. That's pretty much where we're at with that. I think Berg did a really good job of this. He's got Fire, Water, Grass cores. He has answers for electric and rock types and ice types. I mean, yeah, I think he did a very solid job of this. I think like a well-played Frostlass would give this team a ton of issues, but nobody drafted it, so that's pretty much the only thing I see. And then Ty, man, yeah, well done. I think adding an additional dark resist would be useful on this team, and maybe another fire resist, especially on the physical side. You know, because you got a Fluffy Double, you got Articuno. You know, your support stuff isn't really supporting fire that well. But yeah, no, really good draft. I think your top 4 between Mew, Scizor, Garchomp, and Glowking, I mean, that's so tough to beat. It's just very well done. But yeah, I am excited to see what we got coming up here. And yeah, I'll drop this breakdown and analysis of all of our draft picks. And we'll get our season 1 started. I'll probably have a breakdown coming on Monday or so of all of our games. Good luck to everybody. Feel free to hit the free agency and the waiver wire. And yeah, I'll see you in the Discord. Peace.